Good evening, parents. Child Care Aware of America's three-part webinar series, Early Brain Development Tools and Resources. This evening, this is the second webinar in this three-part series, and we're going to focus on Vroom tips. This is going to be an exciting one, lots of neat, interesting information in here. But what are Vroom tips, and how can you incorporate these brain-building tips into your daily activities, your daily routines with your child? Good evening. My name is Mary Lamantia. I'm the Senior Director for the Vroom Partnership Project. And this evening, I'm honored to share the microphone with my colleagues.
Good evening. I'm Fitzgerald Draper. I'm a senior researcher here at Child Care Aware of America. Child Care Aware of America's vision is that every family in the United States has access to high-quality, affordable child care. Through Child Care Aware of America's Family and Community Engagement Department, we're uniquely positioned to share high-quality, innovative tools like Vroom with early care and educational programs and families across the nation to stimulate child experiences and enhance the everyday early moments that form foundations of each child's development. Science has established two facts meaningful for human welfare. First, the foundation of the structure of the human personality is laid down in early childhood. And secondly, the chief engineer in charge of this construction is the family. Parents, families, you are your child's first teacher. Therefore, you play a primary role in the development of your child. Vroom knows you already have what it takes to be a child's brain builder. And Vroom provides tips for parents to engage their child in routine daily interactions that science has proven critical to brain building. Our previous webinar explained the latest research that came out of the Washington University iLab Center, providing us with basic understanding of the science. Let's refresh ourselves with some key facts that we touched on in our first webinar. First, we learned that brain develops from the base upwards, basic skills to complex, touch sensitivity to complex thinking, and so on. And the most immature organ in the human body at birth is the brain. But over the first 2,000 days, it grows rapidly. So by the age of 3, it is nearly 85% of the adult size, and at age 5, it's over 90%. So think about what experiences your child is having during that period. We now know that we are born with all the brain cells or neurons that we will ever have. The environment that we encounter determines how the brain develops. But it's those relationships that ignite the child's experiences and develops the brain to the child's full potential. Now, here's another key point. This is a period with both as an opportunity for potential great development, but it's also room for a vulnerability that's based on negative experiences the child may encounter.
Supportive relationships and positive learning experiences, as we've already said, begin at home, but can also be provided through a range of services with proven effectiveness factors. Babies' brains require stable, caring, interactive relationship with adults. Any way or any place they can be provided will benefit healthy brain development. But in the absence of such positive experiences, or if the responses are unreliable or inappropriate, the brain's architecture does not form as expected, which can lead to disparities in learning and behavior. Some of those negative experiences might be extreme poverty, poor nutrition, repeated abuse, repeated screaming in the household, secondhand smoke. All those types of negative things impact a baby's development and very importantly impact the brain development. If you look at this particular slide, you'll see where persistent stress changes the brain development, where the normal brain at the top, you see the circle, you see the density of the, what I would call squiggly lines, which are basically the synapses between the neurons. And you kind of see the realistic picture on the right, which is actually a part of a brain cell and all the synapses. Well, you see many more brain cells and many more synapses, yet on the lower one, where toxic stress, the infant, that brain has experienced some toxic stress in their life during this period, and therefore you have less density of the synapses that have formed. So there have been less connections between brain cells. And then you see on the right the real picture of what a toxic stress brain synapse would look like. It's sparser, not as dense, etc. Brains subject to toxic stress have underdeveloped neural connections in the areas of the brain most important for successful learning and behavior in school and in the workplace. Science clearly demonstrates that in situations where toxic stress is likely, intervening as early as possible is critical to achieving the best outcomes. So for children experiencing toxic stress, specialized early interventions are needed to target the cause of the stress and to protect the child from its negative consequences. So just how does Vroom help us? Vroom provides you and I with daily brain-building suggestions or tips. We're going to get into those tonight. They encourage awareness and the use of moments in your daily routine with your child for fun brain-building moments. Based on the latest science, these tips are designed to fit into those existing routines. Your typical daily routine with your young child, is feeding, is diapering, is holding, cuddling, talking, looking, etc. Vroom's 1,000 plus brain-building tips are accessed. In other words, you can get them through the joinvroom.org website that you see down there on the bottom of the screen, or by using its free smartphone app to reach you wherever you are during the day. And they're in both English and Spanish. Our next webinar, just to give you a heads up, is going to talk specifically about the use of the app, downloading it, and how to use it. So tonight we're going to be looking at the Vroom activities and the tips, and you can access them through your computer. And then next week you'll find out how to access them through the cell phone app. Remember the 3 scientific principles we spoke about last week? It's important to recall that these tips that they're sharing with us are all based on these 3 scientific principles: positive relationships, back and forth interaction, and promoting executive functions. Each Vroom tip or suggested interaction incorporates these principles, and Vroom resources, such as our presentation tonight, are designed to share these principles through the tips that we'll be exposing you to. Vroom has taken these 3 principles and built them into actions that make brain-building moments. Now that we understand what all the tips are based upon, let's dig a little bit deeper into what Vroom tip really entails. What it entails are those 5 brain-building basics. These are basically the ingredients for brain-building moments. We're going to share a video with you. It's a YouTube video. Again, you can access the YouTube video through your YouTube channel on your television or on your computer. So we're going to watch this video, and remember, I want to caution you the possibility of buffering. So be sure to focus on what they're saying. I'm sure you can enjoy the video and the scene, but listen to what they're saying.
Being a dad, it's not easy. Learning how to balance everything.
I'm questioning myself every day. If I'm being good to her, if I'm doing the right thing for her, if I'm teaching her the right stuff. The brain develops most rapidly in the first 5 years of life. During this time, children will form the foundation for lifelong learning.
Vroom showed us that we didn't have to put more on our plate. It's about what we already do, trying to make those moments worth it.
From the moment your baby is born, the interactions you share with them can help strengthen the connections that build their brain. Vroom has worked with scientists and experts to turn this brain-building science into something simple, something that doesn't change what you do with your child, but how you do it. We call it the 5 brain-building basics. Look, even before babies can talk, they're showing you what they're interested in. Look into their eyes, or what catches their eye, and begin brain-building. Follow. Powerful brain-building moments are created when you let children lead the way, and you follow by responding to their words, sounds, actions, and ideas. Chat. It may not seem like it, but the sounds and gestures young children make are their way of communicating with you. So talk out loud together, even if they can't talk yet, and keep chatting as your children grow, engaging them and learning about the world around them. Take turns. Back and forth interactions between you and your children are one of the most important ways to help their brains develop. So be sure to take turns while you're talking, playing, or exploring with your children. Stretch. Make the moment last longer by building on what your child says or asking follow-up questions that expand your child's thinking and learning. When you stretch the conversation with questions like, what do you think about that? Or how does that make you feel? You're stretching the brain-building moments too. By partnering with families, brands, and community organizations, Vroom is here to help trigger brain-building interactions between you and your child, using the moments you already share together.
You've actually taught your child something when you don't think you're teaching. He's learned something new and he's still learning. When she gets something, it makes me feel like I'm the best mom in the world.
You already have what it takes to be a brain builder. After all, when you look down at them, there's a reason they're already looking up to you. Vroom. Make any moment a brain-building moment.
I hope you enjoyed that video as much as I do. Every time I see it, I look at those young children's eyes, and all I can see are sparklers going off because their brains are just so active. So again, let's refresh ourselves again. These are the actions, the interactions, if you will, that describe what it composes a Vroom tip. It doesn't involve anything major. It's basic and simple. Looking and sharing what we're looking at, what we're focusing on. Following the child's lead, following their babble, mimicking back. The chatting, the hearing of your voice, the tone and the change in your voice, the speed of your voice. Listening to the words that you're saying and you're chatting, whether you're talking, whether it's at mealtime or at the grocery store, you're describing things that you're seeing in the fruits and vegetables section. They're hearing those words. They may not be returning them back to you in your language right now, but they're internalizing all of it. Just remember, when you're talking with them, those sparklers are going off in their head. So take turns. You may name something and see if they can name it. Just as an example of going back and forth. Get the pattern and then change it up. This helps the child pay attention and to remember patterns, all future learning skills. And instead of talking, sing, open up, here comes your cereal, instead of just saying something. So change it up a little bit. Stretch the experience for the child. And you know, the great thing about these 5 brain-building basics is that most parents already do these things. I'm sure you're sitting there and nodding your head at the same time. They're simple, daily interactions that can help children thrive now and in the future, Fitz.
That's a great point, Mary. Now, we talked about some Vroom tips. Now let's take some time to look at some of these. This Vroom tip, a tall tale. At your child's next diaper change, tell him or her a silly story about the tallest child in the world while stretching out their arms over their head. Your voice is your child's favorite sound. Even though he or she can't talk back yet, as Mary mentioned, they're already taking your words and using them to build a foundation to later build on. Now, diapering. Would you agree that this is a daily routine and all children and caregivers share? What can be done with this tip to share it? Here's another tip, the hand wash. This is yet another daily routine. We all know how important it is to establish those critical skills, especially hygiene and health. It's good habits you can learn early. So let your child be your partner as you wash up before dinner. Say it's time to wash your hands, yours and mine. Put soap on both your hands and lather up. Be silly. As you dry your hands out together, do you shake it dry? Do you toss the towel back and forth? What else can you do? Making your child your partner in hand washing helps them learn about the important routine of washing their hands. Going back and forth with the conversation helps words and gestures connect. Build your relationships too. You can say, wash your hands. You can even change your tone in your voice, like, wash your hands. as long as you're playing along.
And just remember, those are starting those sparklers in the brain synapses, one brain cell to the other.
Exactly. And here's another fun Vroom tip, the window watcher. And this can be done on a normal basis. It may not be a part of your daily routine, but you can always ask your child if he or she wants to look out the window and be a window watcher. You can follow their gaze and point to what they're looking at and ask them what do they see. Show him or her where they're looking, create names for what's out there, and talk about each of these things. When your child's going back and forth with you and each of them go over what you see, he or she is learning from you. Naming what you see will also help them increase their vocabulary in a lot of different meaningful ways. We can take a look at another Vroom tip. If you're happy and you know it. Today's saying, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Then clap your hands and ask your child to clap their hands too. You can add actions like touch your nose, hop on one foot, snap your fingers. When your child is ready, ask him or her to pick what action to do next. When you ask your child to follow directions with this game, you're helping him or her learn how to focus while having fun. This skill is very important in the learning process of life. And even though this photo implies that it's in a care facility, and you probably know this popular song, no matter where you are, this interaction offers so many different learning opportunities using the brain-building basics. It helps your child focus on looking and watching each other, following each other, chatting, talking, singing, taking turns, and stretching to see what next is going to happen in the song. I truly hope that learning more about Vroom is making you as happy as it is making us. And here's another Vroom tip. Silly charades. Play a game where your child has to guess what you are. Make a different facial expression and body movements and see if he or she can get it. Sound effects help too. Then ask your child to be something and you try to guess it. You can pretend to be an animal, object, or people that you both know. And just take a note that at the bottom left of these Vroom tips are for different age groups. So this one is designated for 4 to 5, but don't feel free to be limited by that age group. As you feel your child develop, feel free to jump around. When your child is guessing what or who you are, they're using their observational skills and memories of past experiences. When your child is acting and pretending to be someone or something else, his or her perspective is taking communication skills and they're being promoted.
You know, Fitz, when you read and you look at the brainy background and what the scientists have written, it really does validate how critically important these very simple interactions are on a daily basis with the child. Sometimes we as adults take these things for granted. These experiences are just filling the time, but they are so critical for building that brain development during this time.
Yeah, and it really makes a good point because the whole time I was playing, pretending to be the Cookie Monster with my daughter, I didn't know I was doing a brain building exercise.
You were brain building. Hey.
Let's try another Vroom tip. Colorful world. When you're out with your child, team up with him or her to find colors. Have him or her point to something and name the color. And then name all things you can think of that are in the same color. Take turns playing this game. Thinking about what characteristic objects have in common, whether it's color, shapes, or sizes, it's sparking a connection in the growing child's brain.
Absolutely. Wow.
And this can be used with colors, crayons, markers, and pencils. You can use your creativity with this one.
Even torn up construction paper and matching it with what things in the environment match the particular color of the paper. Be creative.
Definitely. And this is another good Vroom tip. How often are you and your child in front of the mirror? During changing time, see if there's something safe or like a mirror that you can give your child. Point to their nose and say, there's your nose. Can you find your mouth? Where are your eyes? Have a conversation about what your child is finding. Even the most routine tasks like diaper changing provides opportunities for your child to explore and learn about the world. Finding parts on his or her face in the mirror and naming them builds concepts and vocabulary. It's also fun.
You know, Fitz, I bet everybody on the line today has done that activity, and maybe they didn't realize it, but how important that is.
You're building the brain. So let's take a look at another one.
Oh, this one's good.
Oh, yes, it's fun. Simple resources such as cups can stimulate the brain, too. How? The cup tower. You don't need much to build fun things around your house. Grab a few plastic cups and stack them into a tower, and you can show your child how fun it is to knock them all down. Hand them the cups and let them have a go. Take turns building all kinds of new towers. Supporting children as they explore and discover will help them become learners for life. This game also helps your child discover how the physical world around him or her work. Have a back and forth conversation about their discoveries.
So now let's look at the downloading of the tips. Downloading from online on your computer. So I want to help you go through some of these screens that you would see if when you go on the Join Vroom website to help you go through this and do this at home for yourself. So the next one, when you tap on the joinvroom.org, and remember, put join in front of the word Vroom, otherwise you're going to get a lot of stuff about cars. So anyway, now we're on joinvroom.org, and this is the current screen that you would see when you open the website. I want to point you to the upper taskbar where it talks about science and facts, the middle one, tools and activities, and then the next one, people and partners. For tonight's presentation, I'm circled the tools and activities because that's where we're going to go next. Underneath the quote in the middle of the picture, you see that teal arrow. That means that you scroll down. So we are going to tap on tools and activities, which then would show in a teal green color up there, and then you're going to scroll down to the page. So you'll scroll down and you'll get to the section on tools and activities. Okay, what you see next, you too can offer your ideas. So when you go down, you're going to get to this section, Our Vroom Activities. What's neat about this is they're basically saying to you that all of these activities, mealtime, bath time, and anytime, all of these tips help nurture the brain. But they also know that you have an opportunity to, they want to give you the opportunity, if you will, right here, to flip to the left or the right and see some examples of the tips. Again, kind of wetting your whistle to help you understand what their tips are like, and then they'll show you some of the brain science behind it. But they also know that just like the scientists made major contributions to all of this, you too, because you're the experienced brain builders out there, you're experiencing with the children, they know that you have done many of these things as well. You can contribute by sharing your thoughts and activities with Vroom, and here's how. So in this section of your Vroom activities, there's a blank template as you scroll down where you can literally type in on that screen your activity. Then underneath the screenshot, that we don't show it right here, but when you're in the live website, underneath there would be a bar that says submit this activity. So after you've typed it up describing that experience, you hit that, submit your activity, and you then have become a valuable contributor to the Vroom tip library. But what did you contribute? Well, you might have shared something you've done for years growing up, or something you do currently with your child right now, or it may be a cultural thing that your family has done for years. All of tremendous value to you, to the child, and to Vroom. So think about sharing. So now you want to download these tips. You want to be able to print them on paper on your printer. So this screen takes you to that section where you would be able to begin this process. You see we've circled the Dropbox folder. So when you scroll down to this section, you would tap on that area, Dropbox folder, and when you do that, this next index sheet is what would come up. And you notice those are all the different resources that are available to you for downloading for free, no charge, just the cost of your paper and your printer ink. But anyway, you can download them. And so what we are going to talk about next is the first one, because we've been talking about tips. Fitz did a great job of giving you all those examples of various tips. So you wanted to download those things. You want to print them. So you're going to tap on that. One thing that I wanted to point out to you, and you see my arrow to point that out, is at the bottom. They've also produced these materials in Chinese and Russian, and the one that doesn't appear there is also Vietnamese, a community that we find out there in our larger communities across the nation.
And here's a fun fact here too, Mary. 21% of the U.S. population households, they speak another language primarily other than English at home.
So this is where Vroom is trying to, again, meet the parents, the communities that are out there. The original, all of these resources are in English and Spanish, and just recently they've been able to add Chinese, Russian, and Vietnamese. That is very exciting to the various communities out there. So then if we go back to the tips and you hit the tip cards, then your next screen is going to come up. Under tip cards, they want to know, do you want it in English or Spanish? So for our purposes tonight, we're going to click on English, and then this is the next index screen that comes up. So if you look at those, you notice there's age ranges. So think about the ones that you want, or you can go and tap each one, and you can download them all in one time and make yourself your own little binder. Whatever works best for you. So for tonight, we're going to pretend that we've tapped on ages 2 to 3, and this is the next screen that would come up for you. It basically is an introductory cover page to the Vroom tips, so it kind of focuses you on what you've opened, and then as you move forward to the next screen, there are the tips. Left-hand side is a description of the simple interaction or engagement that you would have with your child, and that very important brainy background on the right. That's that translated science that really helps validate for you that what you did in that tip really is helping to promote your child's brain development. So print these off and repeatedly use them and internalize them so they become a part of your daily routine. So I want to go back to the index page here, and where we looked at the tips, and at the very top there's the one about bedtime math. Well, we all know we need that every single day, whether we're in a program and it's nap time, or whether we're home and it's nap time or bedtime. What are some neat things that you can do that are brain building and that are focused around math activities? So Vroom pulled these together, and this is what these would look like as you scroll through that after that cover page. Again, notice the age range in the lower left, the description of the activities on the left, and the brainy background is on the right. Truly a very powerful resource for everybody out there.
Thanks for walking us through that, Mary. Now let's talk about Vroom tips for special days of the week. As you guys are pretty aware, there are National Awareness Days all around us. There's things such as National Grandparents' Day, etc. Next are some examples of how CCR&Rs have used these days to make Vroom tips and share it with the community. And these are examples for 2016. The process for you to search through, you download the tips, and to find one for the day that you selected is pretty simple. It's fun to do, and this is how you can do it. Use the computer search program by pressing Control F. Search keywords in the Vroom tips. Find Vroom tips for special days, weeks, even months. There are activities and tips that can be in action. You didn't put them on a display table. There's different categories like colors, reading, eating, and you can plan ahead for fun activities to do with your child and family members. Let everyone in on the fun. There's a lot of different things you can do. For example, for like Flag Day, you can pick out different colors in there. So you can use the crayon example that we talked about earlier today. So there's a lot of fun, different things you can do.
And matching colors, and then you have the alternating white, and red. So many neat brain-building skills are happening in that experience.
Back to the 5 basic brain buildings.
Hey, did you know that September 9th, coming up, is National Teddy Bear Day, Carrot Teddy Bear Day? So think about that one, guys.
I did not, but I will get a teddy bear now. Let's talk about the Vroom tips on display. In this section, we're going to share a few examples of how Child Care Way of America Vroom pilot sites incorporated Vroom tips into their environments, and they have displays that they share the information that covered in Vroom. So our first example is coming from our ambassadors in New York. There's a bulletin there just for the typical child care focused environment. If you notice in the upper left, they identified 5 brain building basics as a reminder of the simplicity of the Vroom tips. The Vroom posters are used to illustrate simple everyday experiences a family might encounter. Then there are a few more tips that are shared alongside the blank template for individuals to contribute to the vast library of Vroom tips. It refreshes their knowledge, stimulates their child and family engagement, and also provides simple suggestions and encourages other contributions. Here's another display from our California ambassador. This display was set up in the agency's library, and this is obviously a very interactive environment. On the left is a fun-filled tactile experience, great for language development and communication. Then, the daily weather with the 5 basics: looking, chatting, stretching, using observational skills, math skills, sequence skills, comparative skills, and so on. Whether an interagency display or a partner display at a local library, laundromat, doctor's office, there's brain building everywhere. Enlarging the tip card is also effective if you're going to use it as a display. Let's look at another example from our ambassadors in Alabama. Their interaction always learns and helps stimulate the sharing, such as this board that was put on Family Day in an event held in Birmingham. And as you look at this, you can see that there's a flip card on the display where it even drew in the parent, and they pulled up the display to read what's on it there.
What's neat and exciting about all of these, of course, is, to me, I want to go back to focusing on the brainy background, because that is what really validates for all of us out there as parents that what we're doing every day does brain development. And it may be something new that we've learned, or it's just a validation that what we've been doing all along is positively contributing to our child's brain development. I think last webinar and this webinar, we've really covered a lot of very valuable information. We've talked about what the tips are, and of course those 3 key underlying principles that every tip is built upon. The 5 brain building basics, the look, chat, follow, take turns, and stretching. Those are the actions, if you will, that make up a tip. And then we talked about how can you engage families with these? How might your program share this information with you for a bulletin board or whatever it is? You saw those examples that Fitz talked about. And then, of course, we ran over to the website again, and we pointed out to you how to use the website, how to go down to the Dropbox, how to download those resources, and what the index pages look like on the resources so that you can navigate through there easily. And another one that's really valuable is how you can share your own experiences. Vroom wants to hear from you. They open the door for you, so type and share everything that you can.
And remember, there's already things that you're already doing to help the brain building. So please feel free to share your ideas.
Exactly. It may be cultural things that you're doing that's, very appropriate for your particular culture. Vroom wants to hear about them. And if it's a tip that they haven't developed yet, they'll put it in there. They'll include it, and they'll write up their brainy background for it. So be sure to think about contributing. And also how to coordinate them with your daily program. We've kind of talked about those as we talked about the routines that Fitz was talking about. So again, look at these platforms that are there, social media. Get on Facebook. You will love to see everything that's happening on Facebook with Vroom. And don't forget to check out those YouTube videos. Again, remember, the one that you saw tonight is there and available for you to see. And remember, those aren't actors. Those are families that have been videotaped specifically for this. So you have wonderful platforms to access, to talk about Vroom, to share Vroom with everyone, to share the positive experience that you've had. Sorry, this is the close. We want to thank you for taking the time you spent with us this evening. We hope that you have found this valuable, and we look forward to having you visit with us for our last in the series, more information on the Vroom program, specifically focusing on the app. Again, it will be Wednesday the 20th, so we have a week off or so. Wednesday the 20th. See you then. Have a nice evening.
Have a great night.
Bye-bye.